This is Colorado's own Channel 2 News at 4. We're on it.
And we start with some breaking news here at 4. No charges will be filed after officers in Loveland shot and killed a 19-year-old who had developmental delays last month. Alex Domina died this week. Police say that he was holding a knife when they responded to the scene. This is police body cam footage from that moment. His family called police because he was facing a mental health crisis. Well, police ended up shooting him 3 times. In a statement, Gordy McLaughlin, the 8th Judicial District Attorney, called his death a tragedy and said officers who responded may have had opportunities to avoid this outcome.
Some hospitals are reaching very close to their capacity limits, and that wouldn't be happening if people were vaccinated.
Governor Polis with growing concern over the situation some hospitals across the state are facing. New numbers this afternoon show that in Colorado right now, there are 894 people in the hospital with COVID-19. 726 of those are not fully vaccinated. Nearly half of the state's critical care ventilators are in use, and the state has the lowest number of ICU beds available since the pandemic began. Gabrielle Franklin has a closer look at what state officials have to say.
As of today, we're at 902 COVID hospitalizations in our state. That represents the second highest amount of COVID hospitalizations at any point in this pandemic. It has now eclipsed the first wave that we saw in the spring of 2020.
Hospitalizations are up in Colorado. The governor says only 17 of them are pediatric cases, but hospitals are running out of space and power.
As of yesterday, we dipped below 200 ICU beds available in our state.
The state's COVID incident commander says people going back to their everyday lives is driving the wave, causing the hospitals to look into ways to make more room.
Our hospitals are beginning to put into place their surge plans. Many are opening up additional ICU beds. They're canceling scheduled surgeries. They're even closing some of their clinics in their outlying facilities so that they can bring staff in to their hospitals to increase staffing levels there.
State epidemiologist Dr. Rachel Herlihy saying unvaccinated cases make up 81% of hospitalizations. The governor expressing disappointment in people who aren't vaccinated, hoping the president's new vaccine guidance could get more shots into arms here.
We're seeing needless hospitalizations. We're seeing needless deaths. The vaccine is completely free and widely available. And people shouldn't have to wait until their employer or their president or others tell them to get it. You should seek it out.
And that was Gabrielle Franklin reporting. President Biden getting pushback from some Republicans after announcing the vaccine mandate plan, which could impact as many as 100 million Americans. Now, the president said back in December that the vaccine should not be mandatory. Well, now a number of Republican governors are threatening to sue the administration over that new requirement. Here's what the president had to say about that.
Have at it. Look, I am so disappointed that particularly some of the Republican governors have been so cavalier with the health of these kids, so cavalier with the health of their communities.
The president also signed an executive order mandating the vaccine for federal workers and contractors. If people are not vaccinated, they have to be tested for COVID-19 weekly. Looking ahead, the White House says President Biden will be in Denver come Tuesday. The president will take part in a Build Back Better event. So far, no other details about the visit have been released, but we are on it and we will be there live, of course, covering that event. On new here at 4, 2 people are being treated for injuries after a plane crash in Weld County. The Weld County Sheriff says that a student pilot and an instructor were inside of that plane. It went down right around 11 o'clock this morning near County Road 41. Their injuries, thankfully, are believed to be non-life-threatening. The NTSB and FAA are looking into what caused that plane crash. No word on where it took off from or where that plane was heading. Some new details about the Black Mountain fire that continues to burn in Grand County near the Route National Forest. Crews now say it is covering 418 acres, but listen to this, the containment is now up to 75%. 143 firefighters are working to put it out. That fire, you may remember, started last month, and investigators do believe that it was caused by lightning. All right, going to take a live look outside. We have now seen record-breaking temperatures for 2 straight days here in the Mile High City. We are expecting a bit of a cool down, though, next week. Dave Fraser has a look at what we can expect in Colorado's certified most accurate forecast. Hey, Dave.
Yeah, we broke the record of 93 set back in 2018, actually hitting 94 degrees a little after noon today. Since then, the temperature climbed, and as of right now, National Weather Service is letting us know that at about 3:11 this afternoon, we reached 99. That's not the official number. We have to wait to see. The temperature could still back up, but we know we were going to break the record. It was an easy one after breaking yesterday's high of 94. You can see we are at 98 right now, close to 100 to the north and east, 100-degree heat as expected in the southeast, and you've got 70s, 80s, and 90s all the way out west. So you're hour by hour in Denver, another hot one. It's going to take a while to cool off. We will slowly get into the 60s, but not until the overnight hours. Now, we do have, for the rest of tonight, it should be shaded in here. For some reason, computer dropped it off. The air quality alert is going to stay out till midnight tonight. Normally it drops off right at 4 o'clock. They're going to extend it. But here's the good news on the smoke forecast. The area of high pressure, which kind of trapped the smoke over us, is shifting to the east. And what that's going to do is allow some cleaner air from the west to move in. So you're going to notice less smoke in the morning and even less and less smoke as we go through Saturday afternoon, Saturday night. So much so that western Colorado will have no smoke in the air by the end of Saturday. And that transition looks to come our way on Sunday. Here's what I'm tracking. Less smoke, rain chances, not great, but they're there, and that's going to help us to cool off in pinpoint weather.
Dave, thank you very much. A Colorado State trooper is facing felony menacing charges after Denver prosecutors say he pointed a gun at a driver last month. Those charges were filed against Jay Hemphill by the Denver District Attorney's Office today. He's been with the State Patrol since 1995 and has worked at the state capitol in the Executive Security Unit since 1998. Now, back in 2007, he was awarded the Medal of Valor for killing an armed gunman who walked into the Capitol and threatened to take over the state government. At the time, Hemphill's assignment was to protect the government. In a statement from the patrol about the charges, they say, in part, our members are here to ensure the safety of all persons and to live our core values of honor, duty, and respect. It goes on to say we take these standards seriously and respect and defer the DA's office regarding this specific charge. The fate of a former football player who played for the Broncos and CU is now in the hands of a jury. Closing arguments took place today in the trial for Justin Bannon. He's facing attempted murder charges after he shot a woman in Boulder back in October of 2019. Nicole Fierro was the only reporter in the courtroom today, and she has a look at what jurors heard just before they started deliberating. Nicole.
Yeah, Erika, both sides' arguments put a lot of pressure on the jurors. They're essentially asked if they're mind readers or they want to be a group that condones people taking drugs and shooting a woman. Former Bronco and Buff Justin Bannon stares straight in front of him in court as attorneys paint him in 2 different lights.
He's got this rolled up $20 bill with presumptive positive cocaine residue on it in his pocket.
In Roman times, people would come cheer the gladiators, and they were great. And then when they were done with them, as you know, historically, they fed them to the lions.
Bannon's counsel describes him as a gladiator, discarded after his football career scarred by a number of concussions.
His mind, his brain is defective. And the law says, because the science tells you that, you must find him not guilty by reason of insanity.
The state wants the jury to remember the victim.
Ashley Marie, not the defendant's brain. This case is about a woman who woke up in the morning, got ready for work, played with her daughter, drove to what would be her office, a place of healing, opened the door, and found her life changed forever.
Prosecutors brought out evidence.
Not 1, but 2 loaded handguns.
2 handguns they say Bannon had in a duffel bag, the double dose of Adderall they say he took that day, and a $20 bill they said had cocaine on it when he decided to shoot the victim.
He sees him as he's leaving, and he's saying, they're chasing me. Oh God, the Russians are after me. A sick brain.
Brain dysfunction versus bad choices.
Her life was changed forever because of this.
Yeah, and the jury was sent to deliberate at 11 this morning. Still nothing yet. They can find him guilty. They can also find him not guilty by reason of insanity, and he'll have to go to a state hospital. Live in Boulder County, Nicole Fierro, Channel 2 News.
All right, Nicole, thank you very much. An Aurora man will spend the rest of his life in prison after he shot and killed another man last June at the Sable Cove Apartments. An Arapahoe County judge handed down that sentence to Cameron Costello after a jury found him guilty of first-degree murder in the death of Brandon Brabson. These are pictures of that victim. Prosecutors say that he was trying to deliver something to his ex-girlfriend when he was shot. And investigators initially thought he killed himself, but they determined that he was shot by Costello after he was seen on surveillance footage with the suspect shortly before that shooting happened. Now, it is a somber day in New York City ahead of the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. This is a live look right now from the Reflection Pool Memorial as people there prepare for a major ceremony happening tomorrow. President Biden will be attending, meaning security is even tighter. City, state, and federal officials attended a security briefing today. Afterward, they told the public and anyone watching with ill intent that security presence, not just at the memorials, but all around the city, will be massive.
We will leave no stone unturned to protect the individuals we have pledged to represent. So it was important that I come here in person to thank the individuals who are working round the clock to identify and potentially thwart any threats.
People placed flowers along the memorial pools today alongside the names of those who died 20 years ago. And in Shanksville, visitors continue to pour in to visit the Flight 93 memorial. The plane crashed down in Pennsylvania after passengers and crew tried to regain control of the plane from hijackers. All 44 people on board were killed. Tens of thousands of people visit this memorial every single year. A new generation is learning about what happened on 9/11 20 years ago for the very first time. Fort Collins High School teacher Sarah Keller has included 9/11 as part of her curriculum for the past 10 years. She worked for American Airlines at the time of the attack and says that it's a tough subject to teach because it's so emotional for her.
And I can tell you as a teacher, you very rarely get every single one of your students, especially in high school, paying attention. And every time I've taught this lesson, they do.
And by the way, she says when she first started teaching about 9/11, students knew a lot more about what happened. That, of course, has changed throughout the years. Meanwhile, on All New at 4, one woman who grew up in Denver is trying to find the people who spent the hours after the attack with her father, Emilio Lopez. Here's his picture. And Emilio was trying to get back to Denver from a business trip in Ohio. His plane was forced to land in Omaha, so he quickly booked the biggest passenger van that he could find and opened it up to 7 others who were trying to get back home to their families in Denver. His daughter would like to track those individuals down.
We never met those people. We don't know who they are. And when my dad passed in 2016, it kind of ended there. And being on this 20th anniversary and telling this story to my kids now and talking about it with my mom every year, I'd really like to find some of those people and maybe bring them together.
Yeah, it would be beautiful if they could connect. Emilio, by the way, refused to take money for the rental van or for gas, and his daughter said that it was just in his nature to help people to make sure that they were safe. And by the way, we have information on how you can contact that family. It's posted in this story on KWGN.com. Several people will also be in Washington, D.C. this weekend to commemorate the tragedy at the Pentagon, and that's where we find Basil John, who joins us live this afternoon. Basil.
Well, Erika, good evening. While the Twin Towers burned in New York on September 11th, 2001, another plane crashed right into the Pentagon, the symbol and center of U.S. military power. Now, 20 years later, officials say that day serves as a constant reminder.
20 years since the loss of nearly 3,000 lives.
Friday, in a private ceremony for employees, the Pentagon paid honor to the lives lost during the 9/11 terrorist attack,
including 125 of our teammates here at the Pentagon and 59 innocent passengers and crew aboard American Airlines Flight 77.
Pentagon Administration and Management Director Michael B. Donnelly says we must not forget the loss of those friends, families, and colleagues.
Renew the ties that bind us together as one Pentagon family.
Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks vividly remembers what happened that day.
This country had been attacked on a horrific scale across multiple locations, and it was done in a cowardly, horrific way.
The FBI held a remembrance ceremony and rang a bell 3 times to represent the 3 affected sites.
For me personally, September 11th was the single most impactful experience in my career.
FBI Director Christopher Wray says some interns now joining the agency weren't even born when the tragedy happened and are now learning the full impact of what happened.
So that they never forget how that day transformed our nation.
Now, the Pentagon is holding a larger ceremony tomorrow, 20 years exactly after those devastating attacks, and President Joe Biden will start his day of remembrance off in New York before traveling over to the one site where the plane that was bound for D.C. crashed. That's outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and then the president will end his day off at the Pentagon. Reporting live in Washington, I'm Basil John.
And earlier today, a new memorial was dedicated here in Denver for the victims of that attack. It's located at Firehouse 35, that's near the airport. The memorial features some of the steel from the World Trade Centers, and several first responders were on hand as they continue to remember the brothers and sisters they lost on that fateful day.
But one thing that remains steadfast then, and still remains today, is the commitment and bravery of first responders. 8 EMT and paramedics, 23 Port Authority officers, 37 police officers, and 343 firefighters made the ultimate sacrifice, giving their lives so others could be saved.
The TSA Honor Guard will also take part in 2 ceremonies at DIA tomorrow to commemorate the anniversary of that attack. Those are scheduled to take place at 6:46 in the morning and 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The Colorado Lottery says that they brought in a record amount of money last year. Find out just how much they made. Plus, if you're a horror movie fanatic, there's a special festival taking place this weekend that's just for you.
And I'm meteorologist Dave Fraser. Record-setting heat today. We're going to bring the heat down heading into the weekend, and you may have noticed it doesn't look as smoky. That trend continues too in Pinpoint Weather.
The Pinpoint Weather hour-by-hour forecast on Channel 2 is brought to you by ColoradoFlatFeeRealty.com. Pay less, keep more, save thousands.
Hello, Sheldon.
Hello, Sheldon.
If you're watching this, you're looking for direction, how best to serve mankind. The answer is simple. The combination of you and you.
Should I leave you 2 alone?
Young Sheldon joins the Big Bang Theory 5 times a week starting September 27th.
The Colorado Lottery says that the fiscal year that ended in July was their best year on record. Altogether, they brought in close to $795 million in revenue. That's a 21% increase from the 2020 totals. The organization also broke the previous revenue record, which was set back in 2019. New at 4 Winter Park is expected to open their slopes on November 17th. Of course, that could always change depending on the weather. We have a list of when other resorts are expected to open over on the free Channel 2 News app.
Now, Colorado's most accurate forecast with Chief Meteorologist Dave Fraser.
All right, we're going to start with the satellite and radar picture, and again, pretty quiet. We did get, if you were up this morning, a little bit of high cloudiness that curled over, so you can see it right in here. It's kind of faint, but you can pick it out. It didn't slow the warming, though. It just wasn't thick enough to block the sun, and as you know, we hit 99. We'll have the official tally. Looks like it's going to end up being 99, but we won't officially know until we get the final number from the National Weather Service, and we'll have that back here at 7 o'clock. And there's the showers and the thunderstorms. If you were with us this time yesterday, we said there's some moisture out to the west, but unfortunately it would curl away from us, and that's what we're seeing. So we're just picking up some late day clouds. As we take a live look outside right now on the Backus and Schenker Skycam network, peeking into Mile High Stadium. It'll be empty this weekend, but the Broncos are playing on Sunday. We're at 98, so we're 1 off that high. Wind is northwest. That's a dry flow for us. 6% humidity. The air is just so dry. Remember, dry air heats faster than when you have moisture in the air, and that's why we saw the temperatures take off today, because the air is so dry. You're at 100 and Sterling. Close to that in Akron. Look at this, 98 in Fort Morgan, close to 100 in Fort Collins and Greeley. And we'll get their final numbers in later this afternoon, too. And then the numbers stay in the 90s, but it gets into the lower 90s as you head south and get up in elevation over the Palmer Divide, and certainly toasty in the foothills and the mountains. It's not as hot as down here on the plains. Lots of 80s up there. So Futurecast, a couple of high clouds around tonight. Tomorrow for your Saturday, the wind flow in the morning will be out of the south and west. There was some improvement in the air quality today as it relates to smoke particles. There is no air quality for Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. So you're going to see improving conditions, and we're going to see a little more clouds and maybe a chance for rain. So watch what happens here on Futurecast. Here comes some clouds. Wind will come out of the west, northwest. Again, that's a drying wind, so don't count on a lot of rain. I've only got a 10% chance of an isolated shower, and I'll show you where. That's the lunch hour. And then watch right in here. Seems to be a quarter here over the northern front range where some showers and thunderstorms coming off the higher terrain will try and get out here over northeast Colorado. But you can see the difference in the coloration. The yellows and the oranges is an indication of a thunderstorm. But notice what happens. If they come off the higher terrain, they move here to the north and east, and they just turn into a few showers. So that's about it. Just a few showers possible on your Saturday. Hey, if you can get the rain, take it. It's not going to amount to much, however. So watch the moisture from the west kind of fade away tonight, but we'll keep the flow going. You can see as we get into the afternoon, the showers and the thunderstorms come up and over us, and then we'll get that chance here. Better chances in northwest Colorado than we will see here. 62 in Denver for lows tonight, so after the hot day, we'll be in the 50s and 60s with only a few 40s in the Colorado Mountains, and highs tomorrow on our way into the 90s, but lower 90s. However, that 93 could tie the record for tomorrow. You can see temperatures there in the heat, 100-degree heat, and the 80s and 90s all the way out west. So your forecast tomorrow, there's your record. Forecast of 93, record is 93, and a 10% chance of a shower or thunderstorm. 20% chance on Sunday, an isolated chance on Monday. Then here comes that cold front, Erika, we were talking about. Took the temperature from 80 to 76. Best chance of rain is on Tuesday. We're drying out and going back to the 80s after that.
All right, Dave, thank you very much. Horror film fanatics, listen up. There is a festival taking place this weekend that celebrates all the fears that you love to face. We'll take a look at what you can expect.
If you love the Broncos, you gotta watch the Broncos Zone with Coach Fangio.
Tonight at 7:30 on Colorado's very own Channel 2.
Your final...
All right, if you are a fan of horror films, listen up. The inaugural Colorado Festival of Horrors kicks off tonight at the Embassy Suites in the Central Park neighborhood, and it runs through Sunday. Daru joins us now with a sneak peek of what you can expect.
Good news for fans of horror film genre. The inaugural Colorado Festival of Horror kicks off tonight at the Embassy Suites in Denver Central Park. Now, there is a type of person, you may be one yourself, that loves to be scared. Well, you're not alone. You should be in good company this weekend at the Embassy Suites in Denver Central Park. That's where everything scary is sacred. They're going to have a menagerie of all kinds of artists, artisans, you name it, writers, filmmakers, actors, actresses, and it's not just fans of horror flicks that are going to be here. Horror film celebrities in the flesh, shaking hands and screaming it up. Like Scream Queen actress Brink Stevens, who's been in over 200 horror movies since 1980. You'll recognize her. She says, quote, probably my favorite movie was Haunting Fear, which was just released on Blu-ray, co-starring with Jan Michael Vincent and Karen Black, and I lived through the whole film. I did not die at the end like I do in most of my movies, end quote. Then there is Laureen Landon, who's been in over 38 movies herself. One of the funnier ones and not scary is Airplane 2 as a flight attendant. She is a hoot. Laureen Landon also says, I love the terror, the thrill, the excitement of being terrified because I think that's very primeval. And it's very popular.
Yeah. You could see why, if you're into that kind of genre, right? Well, looking ahead to Sunday, the Broncos will play on our news partners, Fox 31, and a quick reminder, also tomorrow you'll be able to catch the Colorado School of Mines or Diggers take on New Mexico Highlands. That game is set to kick off at noon tomorrow, and you can watch it right here on Channel 2. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We'll see you in about 30 minutes over on our news partners at Fox 31 News at 5.